$299, a number not so significant for Microsoft, but very significant for Sony. In fact, I actually wore a PlayStation shirt to do this video on the top games under $299 for the Xbox.
$2.99? Bernie, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. That's how World War I got started.
So you say, Bailey, why $2.99? Can you really buy video games in America for $2.99? And the answer is, of course, you can buy them in a bargain bin, which is exactly what I was doing here when I was searching the GameStop website to find the best games under $2.99. Now, of course, you could buy these games on Amazon or eBay, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Shipping with Media Mail, which technically you're not even supposed to ship video games through Media Mail, costs $2.66 and takes like a week and a half to get to where you want it to be. Now, if shipping with the cheapest option, Media Mail, costs $2.66 and the regular shipping that takes 3 days costs over $3, nobody is going to sell you these games on Amazon or eBay for $2.99. So you're going to have to go to GameStop if you really want to get a killer deal, but I'm sure you can find these games relatively cheap elsewhere. Now, many of these games are compatible with the Xbox One. They are Xbox 360 games that are Xbox One compatible, and I will mention if they are not, otherwise assume that they are Xbox One compatible. And the reason why many of these are cheap is because either A, they were games with gold at some point, or B, they had updated editions come out on the Xbox One, but the old versions are still Xbox One compatible, or C, a newer game in the series came out and for some reason included digital copies of the old game. In other words, these games have been very good games that have for some reason been commoditized. Now, when you're buying them for $2.99 at GameStop, odds are some foolish kid traded in for something like 3 cents. But I assure you, these are great games. So without further ado, let's hop into the list. The Gears of War Trilogy, the entire trilogy, each game individually, is $2.99 or less at GameStop, which leaves you no real excuse to not yet have played Microsoft's, at one point, flagship franchise. And while Gears of War 4 wasn't the greatest, it did come with digital codes for all of the previous games, so that might somewhat explain why this great single-player experience is so inexpensive. Destiny! Now, the Xbox 360 copy of Destiny is not going to be as great as the Xbox One copy was, obviously, and that's going to be the case with a lot of these games on this list that might have came out on multiple generations of hardware. But the truth is, at this price, at the quality of a game that Destiny was, even without the DLC, in my opinion, it's worth it. I know that's an opinion that can be a bit divisive. Assassin's Creed Revelations. It is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, but it's not at the top of the list. That would have to be Brotherhood. But regardless, this is a great, again, single-player experience for a very low price. When people are talking about how they want to see more single-player games, I constantly remind them there are so many great single-player games you probably haven't even played yet. Ghost Recon Future Soldier. I really enjoyed playing this back in the day. In fact, I played the Advanced Warfare Ghost Recon titles before this, and then I really enjoyed this one. If you haven't played the Advanced Warfare titles, you'll probably still enjoy Future Soldier for the great tactical third-person shooter that it is. Skyrim. On the Xbox 360 only, it is not backwards compatible with the Xbox One. However, it's been obviously, tweaked and re-released and whatnot on the newer hardware. But the original version of Skyrim still holds up. In fact, it's almost more nostalgic to play it the way that it originally was released, the way that it seemed to have just caught on with everybody, because it's, it's the right way to play it, in my opinion. The original way is the right way to play it, and at this price, you're not going to find a game this big, with the exception of Skyrim. Rainbow Six Vegas, the game that kind of started all before Rainbow Six Siege. I will say that while I think this is something that's worth going back to if you're a fan of Siege, it's not the best game in the world because of the controls. The control scheme is dated to me. It just doesn't quite feel right. It does not feel like a modern FPS anymore. But if I recall correctly, this game did have the option to switch between first and third person point of view. So if that was the case, I'm sure that would be very helpful. Borderlands 2, talk about a great shoot 'em up RPG. Borderlands 2 was a Games with Gold in the past, as were some of the other games on this list. It's also been re-released on the Xbox One as part of the Handsome Jack collection. However, the original Borderlands 2 disc can still be played on Xbox One, just, assumably using slightly worse graphics than you would get out of the Handsome Jack collection. The original Dead Rising. Now, this is a game that I think really actually benefits from going on to the Xbox One and having that backwards compatibility to it. Dead Rising is a great game, but because it spawns so many zombies on screen at once, at times the frame rate would just become sluggish, and it's something that you see less when you play it on the Xbox One. So while it's perfectly playable on both consoles, to get the best experience for this game, I would definitely put it in an Xbox One. Alpha Protocol. Now we're talking about a game that's an RPG, but it has a lot of spy elements. In fact, you play as a spy, so you have all those stealth elements that are involved with that. It's a very interesting concept, and in my opinion, a bit underrated game that's worth picking up and giving a shot at this price. It's also worth mentioning that it is one of the few games that are exclusively on the Xbox 360 and are not backwards compatible. The 360 version of Battlefield 4, while obviously you could just get this game for your Xbox One for a little bit more money, let's say you don't have an Xbox One, for some reason you're still playing the 360 exclusively, Battlefield 4 is a multiplayer experience worth getting into. People, believe it or not, to those of you on the Xbox One, people still play this game on the 360 actively. You can see that by the chart I have on the screen here. It's not the most popular console to play it on, but there are still definitely active lobbies, just like on the PS3. So it's worth checking out, but do remember that you do have to have a fair amount of hard drive space in order to install the game, because you can't simply exclusively play it off of the disc. Bioshock Infinite, another great single-player experience that was a past Games with Gold, and because of that has become a bit commoditized. It's just got beautiful graphics, and if it's something that you missed out on Games with Gold, it's definitely worth picking up now. Deus Ex Human Revolution. Now that's one of those games that seem to always be involved with some sort of sale. I know not too long ago it was $1.50 to download off the Xbox store on one of the sales. So it's a game that regularly goes on sale. But regardless, it's a great, sort of stealth shooter RPG. Lots of different things mixed together around a story that, if you can get into like the Metal Gear games sort of story, you can get into the story, I think, of this. And lastly, one of my favorites, Battlefield Bad Company 2, which was huge when it came backwards compatible to Xbox One. I remember the player count just all of a sudden soared, and I don't know if it's maintained a strong player count after that initial boost, but regardless, the single player is magnificent in this game. So that was a breakdown of 13 games under $2.99 at GameStop that are worth picking up. In other words, you could buy every single game featured in this list for less than $40 pre-tax. That blows my mind when you think about paying $60 for just one single game, or even having paid $60 for one of these games, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So it's just absolutely amazing to me to see the great games you can get at a low price if you're willing to look for them. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey, and I will see you in the next video.